in the position now for 2 years. What have been the biggest challenges or surprises during that time?
Surprises, I think, well, my background is mainly academic. So when I took office, I realized that the academic aspect of the program, content of the program was really important, but also the career support, the communication about the program, let's say the recruiting aspect, and I mean all the elements that make an MBA program in addition to its academic content. And so for me that was, well, of course I knew about that, but that was the most important thing, and I had to get involved in all these aspects that I think are really important. So it's basically like managing a company. Yeah, that was the surprise. In terms of challenges, well, the first thing I did when I took office was to try and make sure that we really had one of the best MBAs in the world. So I wanted to revise the content and the positioning of the program. So what I did was to bring a consulting company, Bain & Company, so one of the most famous, to help us do the curriculum review and the strategic review of the program, and so to bring an external perspective on what we do. And so they started with going to companies, and they asked, you know, CEOs, HR vice presidents about their needs in terms of what the graduates should know. And also they helped us do a benchmarking exercise against the competition to make sure that what we provide actually brings value compared to the competition. So that was a great challenge, and I think a great project.
So, what have been the main things that you've since looked to put in place?
Probably one of the findings was that hiring companies want to get people that are both very well trained in, let's say, the analytic side of business. So making sure that the core business skills are really solid is one thing. And they also want people that are leaders, that are pragmatic, that are sort of willing to roll their sleeves, you know, and just go on the ground and do things. So I think that for most companies, the current challenge is to generate growth. So when I was trained as a student, the main thing was to create shareholder value. You know, that was the main topic. And now it's much more about just creating new business, creating growth, going to, you know, penetrating new markets, reaching new clients, developing new products. So, and then of course it has to be profitable, obviously, but the main, if you like, drive is really to create new business. And so basically we have to train our students to be able to do that.
You also emphasize the idea of having a global mindset. But why is that important?
I think that probably global is not the right word, because if you look at the way the world is kind of developing or evolving, it's not getting really more global, meaning that it's not getting more uniform. And so actually, I think what we call a global mindset here is more a sense of diversity. So we don't think that you can have a global mindset if you stay where you are. So basically, going outside your own country, your own culture, your own, let's say, background, habits, and so on, for us is very important. So in the program, we have more than 80% international students. A lot of them speak 2-3 languages. They want to change jobs, but they also want to change countries. They want to change their environment. They want to change their life. And well, this is what we call a global mindset. And I think that the ability to interact with different people and to respect their differences, and actually even to leverage their differences, is key in the current business life.
So they're looking to change some things that transform perhaps through the MBA experience. How does that tie into a job market that seems to be increasingly difficult to predict?
Yes, I think the current trend in the job market is that there is no trend. So I think that students have to, and we as a community, have to develop a great sense of what the direction is for us. So basically, having a compass and knowing where the north is always extremely important, especially when the environment gets chaotic. So you have to know where you go, but then the route you take to go there can be much more complicated than it was in the past. So this combination of knowing what the ultimate goal is and being able to be extremely flexible in the path you're going to follow in order to reach the goal is the quality that people should develop. Difficult.
We always think that we learn from a failure. Do you have a failure, and what was your learning from that experience?
Probably I have learned a lot because I had a lot of failures. So, well, let's pick one, for example. So I've been a consultant with McKinsey, and when I started my job there, at some point I was working on a study, and I had a very complicated financial model to put together. And actually, I didn't make it. I mean, I was not competent enough. I mean, I failed to do it. And I realized that I was telling my boss, so basically the partner in charge of the study, that I was doing it well, that it would be ready, for the next day or something like that. And actually, I was realizing that it was not there. So the figures I was putting together didn't make any sense. That was a complete failure. And I learned two things. One was that when you don't succeed, when you fail, you tend to feel guilty, and you tend to defend yourself and to justify what you do. And basically, you tend to oversell what you do. So you tend to tell stories to your boss or to your clients because actually you are unable to do the stuff, right? And this puts you in a very, very difficult situation because at some point people realize that the job is not done, right? So I learned that, and I learned probably about sort of the courage to acknowledge that you are failing and to say it in a nice way and to ask for help, instead of trying to hide the problem, okay? And I think it requires courage. It requires, this ability to acknowledge your own limits. Of course, to try to overcome them, but then to acknowledge that you don't do it, right?
What did you want to become if it wasn't a business school professor?
A painter or a writer, or both. But I don't miss it because I paint and I write stories anyway, so it's not a problem. But probably. So I learned painting, in a workshop with a professor, and being a student for me is also important. Being a learner, so being put in a situation in which I have to learn from somebody, from another professor, for me is really something that I like. And I like painting and writing. So,
well, thank you very much for your time and your insights.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.